Hello, welcome. Thanks for joining us on this edition of News 2. I'm Sandra Gomansing, topping our newscast. In addition to some veto overrides and more than a dozen bills special ordered to the floor, the Senate was scheduled Thursday to vote on the controversial cabinet nominations that were held up because of pay raises promised by the administration. A couple of protesters made sure their voices were heard, if not by lawmakers, then by motorists passing the legislature. News 2's April Knight has that story.
Yerman Foy flew all the way from St. Croix Thursday to voice his protest against the possible increase in salaries to be given to 11 of Governor Mapp's cabinet nominees.
They should listen to the voice of the people, instead want to have a chosen few eat while the rest go hungry. That is wrong.
The Senate had the nominations on Thursday's agenda for the second time after rejecting them in May over pay raises of up to $27,000. Foy said a broke government has no business giving away raises.
They keep bawling that the government broke, they ain't got no money, and they want to give people $20,000 raise.
Governor Mapp had compromised by capping the salaries at $105,000 a year, and that's what most of them are getting. 4 of them are getting $102,000. But for these protesters, that's still too much.
They just lie to camouflage the people so the people could go along to get along. It's still an increase from 85.
And Prashanka is from St. Thomas and was also stationed in front of the legislature since early morning.
I am one of those two for nearly 10 years have not received a raise, unionized employees that have to be out here sucking salt while everybody living high.
These protesters said they understand the need for fair wages, but with the financial state the territory is in, they said now is not the time for increased pay. The nominations were placed at the very last block of the Senate agenda. Foy is determined to keep voicing his protest under the hot sun, or at least until the last flight home. Reporting for News 2, I'm April Knight.
The vote was pushed to the very end of that agenda with no results by news time. We will certainly keep you updated on the results of the scheduled vote. There was a lot of backlash after St. Croix fire stations temporarily closed so firefighters could meet with Governor Mapp on Monday. 2 senators raised concerns about whether or not the island was adequately covered. Officials said they were, but more importantly, the department put their issues out into the open. News 2's Erica Parsons has more.
It's no secret that Fire Services Director-designee Eugene Farrell's nomination met with opposition from senators, and that was one issue raised Monday during an all-employee meeting between the fire department and the governor.
Director-designee Farrell, could you please explain to me what's going on with you and the Senate?
As every nominee is, we are at the mercy of the Senate, for our confirmation. But I don't have any issues with the Senate.
Farrell called the meeting to clear the air, so to speak, and have any problems put on the table. Adequate pay was a big issue.
I applaud your efforts in trying to educate people and get them trained, but there's currently cases in PERB for career incentive monies not being paid for over 3 years now.
We sent an entire new group to replace those, and we'll figure out what it is. I'm going to find out what that cost is, and then I will respond to what it is, because I am very, very big on incentive pay.
St. Croix currently has 64 firefighters, which is half the number they had about 20 years ago. So staffing shortages is another problem. Governor Mapp said he plans to recruit more firefighters and increase training, including paying to send firefighters to school.
Somebody that's new, that's fairly young, that has an incentive to grow and develop and take over a leadership position, that's the folks we want to invest money in and send them off to school.
Erica Parsons, News 2.
Hazardous pay was another issue of concern for firefighters, and Governor Mapp assured the officers that his office will be looking into that situation. Property and Procurement Commissioner nominee Randolph Bennett responds to the Rules Committee's inquiries into his master's degree and Senator Gitten's statement that Bennett was being untruthful about his educational background. Bennett forwarded to the Senate his diploma from Liberty University in Lynchburg, Virginia, as proof that he had indeed completed his master's. According to Bennett, the university also apologized to him in writing for the delay in processing and awarding his degree. Bennett stated in a government house release that he hopes the documents will satisfy the Rules and Judiciary Committee. Governor Mapp announced earlier this month the local government's collaboration with federal agencies to launch the Virgin Islands Crimes Against Children Task Force. Police Commissioner Delroy Richards told NEWS2 exactly what the task force does and what crimes against children are prevalent in the territory. NEWS2's April Knight has details.
Local and federal law enforcement are homing in on predators preying on children in the territory. Early in July, Government House announced the Virgin Islands Crimes Against Children Task Force. It's a major operation involving Homeland Security, Immigration and Customs, the U.S. Attorney's Office, and even the Family Resource Center. It's been done successfully in the mainland and in Puerto Rico, and is now being launched in the Virgin Islands.
Provide a rapid, proactive response to challenge the exploitation of children in this territory.
Locally, crimes against children are mostly committed through cyberspace, according to the VIPD. These crimes become more prolific with the increase in children's access to web-enabled electronic devices.
A lot of kids are going to receive these unwanted texts, unwanted pornography. And this is a trend that occurs elsewhere, and here is no different.
Commissioner Richards also said family involvement is very important in cutting down on cyber offenses against children.
They have kids that right in front of their faces are sitting and their hands are moving, they're texting, and the parents is unaware of what is being said, what the conversation is all about.
Law enforcement plans to widen its outreach, connecting with young people through existing programs and making sure all Virgin Islands children are armed with information to protect themselves.
We have begun to do just that. We've begun to monitor all these online cyber activity. Some of the websites.
For NEWS2, I'm April Knight.
On Monday, July 27, 2015, Nevin Felix, 32 of Bellevue Village, St. John, was arrested and charged with unlawful entry, destruction of property, and disturbance of the peace. Police say the arrest was in connection with an incident that occurred on Thursday, July 23rd, where he broke into his wife's home, causing damage to one of the home's windows and disturbing the peace. Nevin Felix was remanded to the Bureau of Corrections pending his advice of rights hearing. On Tuesday, July 28th at roughly 9 p.m., police say John Clay, 41 years of age, of Herman Hill, was arrested and charged with possession of an unauthorized firearm. Officers received a report of shots having been discharged in Estate Williams Delight at 8:51 p.m. Following a description of the vehicle, officers came upon a vehicle fitting that description in the vicinity of Anna's Hope. Officers conducted a traffic stop of the motorist and discovered the unauthorized firearm and arrest. John Clay bail was set at $25,000, and unable to post bail, he was remanded to the Bureau of Corrections pending his advice of rights hearing. Keeping our eye on the economy, here's the New York Stock Exchange with our stock market watch. As we can see, the Dow down 5, NASDAQ up 17, S&P 500 also up. Coming up on NEWS2, got your winning lottery numbers, plus the huge book donation by International Literacy Organization. A whole group of people are out there, local Rotary clubs and the VI, Department of Education. They're continuing with pallets upon pallets of books from Better World Books, this time for St. Croix students. Welcome back. Senator Tregenza Roach extends condolences to the family and friends of the late Mrs. Corinne Lockhart. He says her legacy as matriarch of the Lockhart family, civic leader, and cultural activist will endure for future generations. Mrs. Corinne Lockhart was born to Grace and D.W. Sparks, who were primarily given credit for the creation of the first Virgin Islands flag. Her family remained a part of the Virgin Islands community through the Lockhart companies, including a former lumberyard and department store. Later, Mrs. Lockhart was one of the founders of the St. Thomas Girl Scouts. Mrs. Lockhart was also a member of the St. Thomas St. John Friends of Denmark Society, known for decades of cultural interchange of memories and more. He extends condolences to Dale, Gary, Catherine Lockhart Mills, Herbert III, Ronald, and Henrik Lockhart. Family member says she passed peacefully at home on July 23rd at the age of 91. The viewing is being held this evening at Hurley Funeral Home. On Friday, there will be a musical prelude and tribute at St. Peter and Paul Cathedral, followed by the service at 10 a.m., burial at the Lockhart Family Cemetery at Estate Thomas. One summer camp is more than just that. It extends for an entire year and even beyond. 26 students went through the week-long Defi program, which is just the first step to developing stronger students. NEWS2's Erica Parsons has more.
All right, so if he says it's not comfortable, bring it up a little bit. Up.
Students from the Defi summer camp are learning life-saving skills.
After 3, 1, 2, 3, begin. 1, 2, 3, 4.
They spent half a day with St. Croix Rescue learning CPR and other skills that would be helpful in an emergency. The week-long program for preteens is only the first phase of Defi, drug education for youth.
Defi is improving the way of life. And no matter what we do, it's always a part of improving the way of life.
Defi was developed by the Navy. It's a national program that's run locally by the Grove Place Weed and Seed and the National Guard's Counter-Drug Task Force. In addition to teaching life skills, another goal is to deter drug use and gang involvement.
We come in and teach conflict resolution, team building exercises, learning how to get along with each other.
One of the skills that are taught is bullying, anti-bullying, because bullying is a very large part of a school setting. It can happen almost anywhere, at home, in church, wherever. And we want to teach our young children that bullying is not acceptable. We want to give them the skills to let them know, if in case that they are witness, there are things that they can do to prevent it instead of escalating it.
Defi students are each paired with an adult mentor for 10 months during the school year as part of Phase 2. Parent involvement and long-term support are the final segments to keeping the students on the straight and narrow. Erica Parsons, NEWS2.
Congrats to the students. The final installment of a book initiative spearheaded by the Rotary Club of St. John made its way to St. Croix. Officials from Rotary, Sunshine Mall, and Education talked about their plans to distribute the 30,000 books that were donated from Better World Books.
You know, it's way too large an initiative. We want to share throughout the Rotaries throughout the territory because, you know, literacy is a huge element of Rotary.
We're actually going to get 2 pallets of books for the opportunity to give it out to our students, to parents, to teachers. We're all excited because our commissioner, Dr. McCollum, is really excited about literacy in our public schools. So she's thought of a wonderful way to get books into our communities through our barbershops, through our clinics, through our doctor's offices.
We'll be distributing them, as mentioned earlier, to various community centers, to libraries, to schools, to any avenue that we could get the books out. Honestly, we'll be having book fairs. We'll be partnering with the Sunshine Mall for their book fair.
Senator Violet is hosting school supplies donation drives, and the first one will be held on Friday, July 31st at the monthly Jazz in the Park on St. Croix. He said as a former educator, he sees the impact the economy has on families. Loss of income, especially on the island of St. Croix, has threatened educational achievement, he said. Again, that first drive will be held on Friday, July 31st at the monthly Jazz in the Park event, which is hosted by Community Music, Inc., and that will be held at the bandstand on the Fort Christian Verne in downtown Christiansted from 5:30 p.m. to 7:30 p.m. Did you purchase a sheet of the Virgin Islands Fine Art VI lottery ticket? Many native sons and daughters are featured on lottery ticket number 855 to share their expression of our rich cultural heritage. A definite collectible. Now, are you a winner? It was drawn earlier today. Here are the winning numbers.
The VI Lottery presents draw results of today's drawing on NEWS2. Here are the top prizes. Fifth prize for $20,000, 16394. 16394. Fourth prize for $30,000, 25907. 25907. Third prize for $40,000, 07307. 07307. Second prize for $65,000, 31516. 31516. And the winning ticket number of the grand prize for $175,000 is 11867. 11867. If your ticket number wasn't called, keep trying. One of these days, your number could win. The next drawing is August 13th. Play the VI Lottery and imagine the possibilities.
Mark that on your calendar, August 13th. Congrats as you, best of luck as you check those tickets. Be sure to stick around. Your News to AccuWeather forecast comes your way next.